Good afternoon. Welcome to CompanyRoots. Today we're interviewing Mr. Yuja Chang, the co-founder of Aira, which is a service that uses artificial intelligence and augmented reality to connect blind and low vision people to highly trained and remote local agents.
Mr. Chang has also been deemed a Forbes 30 Under 30 social entrepreneur in 2018. It is a privilege and we are truly honored to interview you today. My name is Raul Kavoru. I'm a rising junior at St. Paul School in New Hampshire, and I'm the president of CompanyRoots.
My name is Suresh Shasti. I'm a rising freshman at the Wharton School and I'm from Homedale, New Jersey, and I'm the founder of CompanyRoots. So the first question that we always like to ask is, what were your company roots and how do they help you in shaping your ideas and becoming the person you are today?
Cool. First of all, very glad to be here today. Thanks for inviting me.
Thanks for being on here.
Yeah, and then just to give you a quick background, I think when we talk about company roots, I think for me, at least personally, it's really about social impact, creating a social impact, or even just bringing a positive impact to our society. And I think that the idea does not come only from Aira. In fact, back in high school and back in college, I've always been involved in a lot of the research for nonprofit that's really just trying to help out the society. I'm very glad that with the help of my co-founders and then the founding team, we're able to make Aira a much larger scale that actually helping millions of blind people and visually impaired across the United States and even beyond us.
Understood.
For everyone to be successful, we all know that there is a great role model behind them. So who is your inspiration and mentor for success, and how do they impact you and develop your own social impact roots?
Yeah, so my to be honest, my inspiration, my mentor really was my first manager back into it, who was also my co-founder at the company, Suman Kanukanti. He really taught me a lot, not just from the professional side, but also from the people side as well. And I think just his resilience and the desire to pursue a profession and the drive to bring the impact to a society, it really helped not on a work level, but also on a personal level, where I really see how much impact and how much impact we can actually change society if we actually try hard enough. I think a lot of time when people think about building startups, and so there's definitely an element of changing the world or make this world a better place. But I think the reason behind that, right, there must be a much deeper meaning about it. For example, when we say we're making this world a better place, what exactly are we talking about? And I think some people have a vague idea, or some people might think they're trying to invent a solution that's addressing a problem that doesn't really exist in the first place.
Yeah.
But I think with social impacts, I think there's definitely a cause for that, right? And when we talk about social impact, we're not really talking about charities. We're talking about how can we use modern technology and modern solution to address a problem that has been there for a long time.
Yeah.
And I think just the inspirations and the mentorship I received really helped me push my idea forward and make a reality that we can actually help other people across the nation.
Yeah. So what previous startups and nonprofit environments have you been exposed to? And what were some of your takeaways from these organizations and how have they impacted your leadership of Aira?
Sure. So to be clear, it's not really a startup that I was involved with. Really, it was more of a foundation. It's called it's a foundation back in college. Basically, we are helping local hospitals to screen eye diseases for kids that are coming from a relatively poor area. So essentially, the goal was to through image analysis, through computer algorithm to help them identify the disease early in the days so they can get treatment properly before it gets worse. So I think I was involved for almost 3 years, actually, 3 years back in college. And one thing that I really learned is, at least for me, I didn't realize that there was such issue out there until I personally visited the communities, spoke to the kids, and spoke to the doctors. And I think we're very fortunate that we actually live in a relatively better place than a lot of people that we could imagine.
Yeah.
And then personally being out there, and that's when I realized, that it is such a privilege and a fortunate thing that we are who we are today, right? And really is how we can do our best to help out to the people that are absolutely that need a lot more help than we do.
Hmm.
And throughout the entire project, I was able to see that and was very happy that we can actually, bring impact to those people. Although it's just a small community in San Diego, but I think that the that how do I put it? The satisfaction and then the rewarding feeling really make it 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 make me feel that I'm actually able to do a lot more than I expected as a
Yeah.
college kid.
Yeah.
And I think that definitely resonated along the way as I co-founded Aira and seeing how this technology is being used across the nation.
Yeah. So as you went into co-founding Ira, how did you find the group of people, like the target group that you're really trying to impact? And did you do any surveys, like market surveys, to understand like how exactly the problem should be addressed?
You mean the target, the users, right?
Yeah.
So, well, I think when we first started Aira, really it was back in 2013, 2014, when wearable devices were still early in the days.
Hmm.
So obviously, I'm sure you all know that when Google Glasses first came out, it received quite a bit of criticism, right?
Yeah.
About privacy, about is it even necessary? So that's when it got me thinking, right? About we have a wearable device that must be that must be useful for some group of people.
Yeah.
And of course, my previous involvement with Charlie Eye Center back in UC San Diego got me the idea of how we can actually help the blind. So I think it's more of it's not like we have an idea, we're trying to find a target group. It's more like I know there's a group of people that need help, and then the technology they use, it's outdated to say the least,
Yeah.
like cane dogs, right? So I had a purpose, at least in my mind, that I wanted to develop something to help these group of people.
Hmm.
Uh, of course, because of the involvement with the local community, I have mutual friends who are visually impaired or who suffer vision loss. So we have a small group of people that are there for me for user testing. So
Hmm.
really, the idea since day one is about how do we make the solution perfect for for the blind. We call the BVI, blind and visually impaired individuals,
Hmm.
to make their life either better or much easier. So that's the purpose. So really it's about how we keep refining the idea and then doing user testings and then find out what is the best way for us to commercialize this. Because as I mentioned earlier, social enterprise and charity is a completely different idea, right?
Yeah.
We're trying to address a social problem, but of course, at the core, we still need to find a way to operate in a self-sustainable way.
Yeah.
So that kind of comes along as we test and then we speak to users.
Yeah.
Definitely. So Ira has been featured on the Washington Post, the Chicago Tribune, and Wired, and has raised over $16 million in funding. So in what direction are you leading Ira in so far? And what has been your biggest hurdle and challenge in the organization during your career there?
Yeah, I think one of the biggest challenge I faced, or I think that everyone at the organization faces, um, a lot of the people they want to help. They people who join us, they definitely have the passion, they have empathy to help all this group of people,
Hmm.
but a lot of time they don't know what is the proper way to help them. For example, if you see a blind person uh, walking on the street waiting for a light, the first thing you do is probably try to grab their arms and try to help them cross the street. But that's actually the wrong way to do it, right? So the proper etiquette that we need to have to communicate with the blind is actually a lot more complicated than what we expected. And
Yeah.
of course, as we get to know our user better, we start to know their routine, their etiquette, how to properly communicate with them, that we can help them in the most efficient way and efficient and effective. So definitely, when we first scale up, when we hire our agents, I'm sure you understand our business model is where we have agents that help the blind through remote assistance. Teaching those agents how to communicate with them is definitely a big challenge because we definitely bear the liability of giving the wrong information or not giving the information fast enough.
Yes.
So proper trainings and rigorous practice is absolutely must. when we when we hire the agents before we put them in a system to help out our users.
Mhm. So you were named as a Forbes 30 under 30 social entrepreneur in 2018. So that's an awesome achievement, obviously. In what direction do you see the social impact field going in?
Yeah, good. Very interesting question. I think social impact has been gaining a lot of the attention or the traction lately, especially impact investment funds. I
Mhm.
think a lot of people when they think about social impact, and that's actually a lot of the feedback we heard when we first approached um, VCs or investors, is they always feel like social impact, we're just doing social goods without a proper business model that we can actually see return in a
Yeah.
near term. And I think that mentality has been slowly changed in the past few years, especially now we have funds that's purposefully set up to fund social startups, social enterprises. So I think that's definitely a great push and a great change that I really, I'm really glad seeing that,
Yeah.
because definitely I think again, going back to what I said earlier, is it's at the end of the day, it's still an enterprise, and I think we know that. We also hope the investors know that as well, and I think there are definitely ways that we can help the society and address those issues, and not just by burning money, right? Definitely, there are ways that we can do it, and it's the importance about finding the right solution, the right approach, the right target audience, the right business model to do so. And I think seeing those funds setting up and then start funding social startups, I believe that that's a great trend, and I believe that people start to understand that by investing social impact does not just mean donating money to the charity. There's a huge difference, and I think uh, seeing returns definitely give them a boost as well in their confidence.
Yeah. And I think that might be probably one of the most powerful parts, that people can take their own like for-profit models and actually still incorporate like CSR, like corporate social responsibility standards into it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So, what process do you go through when hiring Aira professionals and agents, and what skills do you look for, and what is this overall company culture and environment that you're looking to create?
Yeah. So when we hire, I think when we talk about professional, I assume you're talking about the agents that are helping our users, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I think a few things that we're looking at. Definitely one is the ability to be able to communicate clearly in an effective manner, because a lot of the time, the most I would say the most how do I put it? I think a lot of time that our user, when they use our service, is when they're walking on the street or when they need information in a rather urgent matter. So how can they communicate with our users clearly and provide guidance or information is absolutely must, and orientation as well. But I think at the core, what we're really looking at is empathy, right? I think with our model, we definitely don't want these agents feel like they're doing our users a favor. They're not helping out because in the, they're just voluntarily doing this for their personal goods. I think the way how we look at it is I want them to treat this as a job, and it's a meaningful job that they're actually helping the society.
Yeah.
And then part of that is having empathy. That how can you put yourself in their shoes to imagine if you were in their situation, how would you react? How would you behave? And it's through that lens to provide guidance and feedback to lead our users throughout their everyday lives.
Right.
To answer the next question about company culture, definitely we're looking for collaborative culture and an empathetic culture. I think those are two things that we definitely look at when we hire not just our agents but also our team as well, because company culture is a very powerful thing, I think. And then the ability to create the culture or to shape the culture you want is very important, especially at the management level. So I think at least for Ira, what we really look at is we want to have a collaborative culture, and we also want to be again empathetic, that we know what we're doing is important, and we should feel empowered that we were able to do all these to to help this large group of people that were overlooked in I don't know for how long, to impart their everyday life and then make them live a more independent life.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely.
So you graduated from the Wharton School at the University of Pennsylvania with an MBA in management. I'll be attending there next year for my undergrad studies, but how has your education helped you in making Aira?
Interesting. So I think definitely the 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 MBA degree helps in the way that it helps you make decisions. But I think another very important element is the network and connections that I got to leverage in
Mhm.
school. For
Yeah.
example, a lot of the connections that I made there actually helped a lot when we look for investment or when we raise for fundings. So I couldn't really pinpoint a specific class that I think it's you know it's beneficial to me, but I think it's the overall experience, the professors, the classmates, and then the ability to network with all the alumni. I think
Mhm.
that's the most important thing I take from my work in MBA.
Yeah.
So, which professor impacted you the most at Wharton, and how did you connect with him or her?
So I took a class. It's called innovation. It's with Carl Orrick. I think that's definitely one of the classes that impacted me the most.
Mhm.
Because at the time when I was in school, we're still I wouldn't say we're still in the early stage, but definitely the product wasn't as mature as now.
Yeah.
And just seeing how he went through this process himself, because obviously Carl Orrick he invented a lot of the the stuff as well, and then also a lot of the successful startups. So seeing how he went through this himself and then through his experience sharing, through taking his classes, it helped, at least it helped me to see how we can improve this product better, not just from a technical perspective, but also from users perspective,
Yeah.
and the ability to go with the iterative of user testing, user collecting user feedback, all the way into implement it into the product. Just this rigorous process really help us put in the same process through our product dev cycle. And then we actually connected much more with our users, took a more data-driven approach when evaluating features, evaluating results,
Hmm.
and definitely made our product a lot better.
Yeah.
And obviously, the user has also shared their feedback as well to say how much they were able to use our product after we have conducted all these changes. So I think if you ask me for one specific class or professor, I think definitely Karorg and the innovation class is the one that impacted me the most.
Okay. And what specific like club or program at Wharton do you think helped you the most?
So I was part of the Entrepreneurship Club,
Okay.
of course.
Yeah.
And I think again, I think is the network and the connection I built there. For example, obviously, a lot of people who join the club are either entrepreneurs or they are interested to start their own company. And
Mhm.
then the people who are passionate about technology and people who have the drive to create impact uh, to our society, and definitely being able to network and connect with these people helped me a lot in terms of seeing how I can make this better, and also hearing ideas from others also can help me seeing how I can implement those ideas or implement those thoughts into my own company, either on the product itself or just the culture itself. I think the ability to spend time and hang out with people that share a similar passion with you is very encouraging in pursuing and pushing the startup forward, because obviously founding a company and then it's not easy.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, what was your work at McKinsey like, and how is it different than the other firms you can consult for?
Great question. So I think my work at McKinsey is actually quite diverse. Definitely technology is a big part. And I think a big chunk of my work is actually to share my knowledge and experience to clients on how they can think about when designing products and when they think about how to make a strategic decision, right? Because a lot of time when people make decisions, it's not as data driven, and it's it's not as they didn't take a holistic approach. I think my experience back at my startup and a couple with the Wharton MBA definitely helped me a lot on making a sound judgment that I can confidently convince my audience, either the users, either investors, or in this case, my clients.
Yeah.
So definitely what I've done at McKinsey, I wouldn't say it's a lot similar to the startup work, but it's really about client coaching. And then through my own experience as startup, through my own experience with the technology I'm involved. So it's definitely rewarding, especially now. I'm creating impact in another way that I'm coaching the client who have a much broader influence
Right.
than myself or the startup. So I think that's definitely equally rewarding.
Mhm. And what steps would you advise to business and nonprofit leaders to see people in their true light and see kind of past all the things that they put up and what the character is like?
Can you elaborate a little more? Like, I'm not quite clear. What do you mean?
Sure. Like when you're interviewing somebody or when you're like meeting them for the first time and you want to see kind of what is really their passion and who are they really? How do you kind of pick up on like those kind of ideas?
Ah, I see. I think it's actually it's quite easy to tell. I think it's hard to fake a passion, or it's hard to pretend that you care about something when deep down you don't.
Yeah.
And then through, as you said, through interview, through conversation, it's very easy to pick up those cues, right? I really can't give you an exact example or pinpoint what specifically I'm looking at, but I think, maybe a 30 minutes conversation, and then you can already tell if this person is truly interested or truly passionate about this idea or about doing nonprofit work, or they're just trying to, to jump on the trend and then throwing a few buzzwords just so they can get the job. I think it's very, very easy to tell. And then it really comes from, the authenticity and how genuine person they are. It's, you can spot that in, I will say, in less than 10 minutes after the conversation, once you start a conversation.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
So we always end the interview off on the same question. What advice would you give to the current generation of high school students that would like to start the process to make a positive impact on society, including solving a multitude of problems that makes people's lives better through the social impact field? And how would you recommend they start this process?
I think the most important lesson, at least for myself, is don't don't underestimate your your impact, or don't underestimate your ability to create impact. Especially, back in high school or college, a lot of time people might feel they're only doing a very small part, or what they're doing is not impactful. But that's actually not the case. A lot of time, things that we get depicted on, it's the things that many people often overlooked.
Yeah.
Right. So for example, the research project I worked on, and in fact it's still going on after, I don't even know, like 7 years, 8 years, I left college. And then just, and I think that the fact that you see what you worked on back then were still being in place, still being used by people, and it's still having an impact. I think that's very powerful, right? So what I'm trying to say is, when you see some opportunities, just jump on it, and no matter how big or how small it is, because you need to start somewhere to make a positive impact on society. Like, it's not gonna just like fall on you one day and then you're just gonna, all of a sudden, you're a social entrepreneur, right? It definitely comes from our everyday life, that we see issues, we identify problems, and then we try to come up with a solution to address it.
Yeah.
And having that mindset, you will eventually be able to solve different problems that make people's lives better. For example, um, as small as it can be, even you're just addressing a small group of people's um, problem. I
Mhm.
think there's definitely more people out there that are experiencing the same difficulties, and you never know. One day this thing might just scale up, and then you get to impact a lot more people. So going back to what I said earlier, for high school students or college, definitely start thinking what you could have done and what you can do to help others, and even if it's small, just give it a try, and and see how it goes. I think that's really the mindset. It's really about the resilience, and then keep yourself curious, and then be driven to solve problems.
Okay. Got you. Thank you for allowing us to interview you today.
Thank you.
Thank you, and then I wish you best luck on Company Roots. Have a good day.
Thank you.